Good day and welcome to the last, I regret to say, of this year's panels in our logistics business virtual show. You've probably seen that there are 10 of these in total, and this is the final one, and it covers the theme of track and trace, mobile delivery management. It's quite a sorted scheme of different functionalities and needs to do with the out on the road and delivery model. And I'm joined by experts from around the world who will answer your questions if you use the chat facility that exists there on the Zoom platform. And as I say, it's not intended to be a formal sales pitch. These guys aren't going to be making presentations or screen sharing. It's just trying to get them to talk and just give you the benefits of what they do and how it can help your business. So without further ado, I'm just going to ask everyone to introduce themselves very briefly, starting with you, Laurent.
Okay, thank you, Paul. My name is Laurent Turmes. I'm with Telecom Luxembourg, a telco provider from the small country of Luxembourg. One of our specialities is machine-to-machine connectivity, where we connect items on a global scale. We have more than 2.2 million items connected that we manage, and obviously we represent the bridge between the items itself and the monitoring platforms.
We'll come back to you on that if we may, Laurent. Can next come to you, Mike?
Yeah, sure. So cheers, Paul. So it's Mike Willett. I'm the T&L lead here at Panasonic Toughbook. We're one of the leading manufacturers of rugged mobile solutions.
Thanks, Mike.
Short and sweet.
No, very good, excellent. And finally, you, Rogier.
Yeah, so thank you, Paul. I represent FarEye, a company delivering a solution for intelligent delivery management. So a SaaS platform that serves as an intelligent delivery management platform.
Okay, well, what I'd like to do next is to just come back to you all one by one and ask you to talk about the solutions that you provide and give our audience a sense of the benefits and why they would be useful to them. And I think we should start with you, actually, Rogier, if we may. So could you start?
Sure. So what we do is we provide companies with an intelligent delivery platform, as said. The aim of that is to provide real-time visibility on the journey of parcels and shipments, both to internal stakeholders and obviously external, the customer mainly as well. Mainly what we help companies achieve with that is to manage their operations better and more efficiently, and making better or increase utilization of road vehicles, for instance. And at the same time, delight their customers through a superior customer experience, right? With all the real-time data available and being able to communicate to the customers about what's going on continuously. So that's in short what we do. Important aspect there is the real-time data availability, obviously, and that's where our platform serves as a central platform to connect to carriers, to make sure that we get statuses all the way through the network, from warehouses, from all the way to the customer's doorstep.
Okay, thanks for that. And we'll probably come back to you and get a bit more detail on that a bit later on. Let's come to you next, Mike.
Yeah, so yes, Panasonic Toughbook. So we manufacture rugged solutions. Our aim is to make them sustainable and give a greater ROI. So we manufacture these rugged devices, from handheld devices for delivery operations through to utility businesses, for field service workers, from engineering standpoints, through public sector, desktop on the go applications, a real, broad mix, that our products fit. But when it comes to delivery operations, our handheld devices are still, kind of leading the kind of the selection route, the kind of the smaller form factors, the longer life. We've been investing in different ways of managing those devices and becoming more intelligent, and also giving flexible options around, what else can they use those devices for, even though it's a delivery device. So making sure deliveries are on time. If there is any problems, you can freely communicate back to base, but also tracking any anomalies that happen on that delivery, like, did they miss a different route, feeding it back. There's a lot of kind of intelligence around it that we can go into, into more detail, but we're forever investing and making sure that it's sustainable, giving a greater ROI as possible.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Mike. And last but not least, Laurent.
Well, I must say, I can act as a bridge here. I hear from Rogier that he offers real-time data, okay? And on the other side, Mike having a product that is able to capture data, and we actually transport the data over mobile networks. You can capture the data, any data you want, be it geolocalization, be it the temperature, be it status of a container, open, closed, or any other data, and then transmit these data over wireless networks to an intelligent platform, so actually can manage this information and then increase customer satisfaction and customer experience. So this is what we do on a global scale, I must say. Even if we are coming from a small country, small is important here, and we may talk about this at a later stage. So we have a real dense network of roaming partners, allowing us to ensure maximum availability of network services for track and trace and critical appliances.
And how important is 5G in all this, Laurent?
Well, 5G is the new world ahead of us. Right now, in the early adoption, 5G is targeting more the consumer acceptance and consumer use cases, but the real use cases are going to come from business-to-business applications. And 5G will allow much higher bandwidth of data transmission. So the volume of data that you can capture and transmit to an intelligent platform is going to increase dramatically, and the latency is going to reduce. So you won't have as many blank spots, if at all, going forward with the monitoring of the data that you are gathering.
And how far away do you think that is? I suppose it varies from territory to territory, does it?
Well, I would say there is an association called GSMA, which manages the standards of the mobile world, and there is a new release due end of this year on the IoT 5G. And once that standard is adopted, you have to think that the device manufacturers, maybe like you, Mike, or other device manufacturers, need to apply these standards into their machines, which will take another year or so. So we are potentially 2 years away from 5G IoT applications looking forward.
And who is the customer for you then? Or is it, for example, is it someone like Panasonic with Mike, or is it or someone like Rogier's FarEye? Do they have the deal with you, or is it arranged differently?
Well, it depends. It depends on the value proposition that is being built for the customer. We have customers who are more on the device side, so they would like to give their customers the experience of a device plus the connectivity. So it's one-stop shop. On the other side, also on the intelligence platform, we have customers who say, we actually take care of the connectivity and we can relay any information of any device, and those guys would then be our customers. So it's a vast array, and in between is also true. There is an potentially also, and we have these customers as well, owners of the items as well that buy connectivity devices and that buy a platform and actually manage all by themselves.
Yeah. So let me give you an opportunity to have a bit of a sales pitch. Why would customers choose you ahead of some of your rivals?
Well, thank you for that, Paul. As I said earlier, size matters. We are a very small country, and by nature, we have to have many interactions with other mobile network operators to be able to deliver the service in Europe and abroad. So Post Luxembourg has over 600 roaming agreements, and by this, we do have a better network quality or better service quality in all European countries. The explanation is, if you go with a local network operator in the UK, for example, you will have access to their network only and not to the other networks that are available in the UK as well. Us as neutral service supplier, we cover all the networks. So we overlay the coverage of the various networks to allow maximum connectivity. So we get the best of all the worlds. And hence our connectivity services are much more reliable and much more dense than in most of the countries. There is one country where we only serve one network operator, and that is Luxembourg. Hence, size matters. In a global market, Luxembourg is small, so we have a competitive advantage in that regard.
Okay, right. Well, fantastic. Let's move on to our other panelists. Maybe come to you next, Mike. Let's talk a bit more about Toughbook, shall we? And why does it merit the investment? Because rugged technology is not, it's fantastic technology, but it's not necessarily the most cheapest. There might be an attitude of, well, it's a nice to have and not a need to have certainly from smaller clients, perhaps. So what do you say to them?
Yeah, no, Paul, I mean, I totally understand that. I see it all the time. A lot of the proposals that we put forward, we have to take into account and be as flexible as possible. Now, I mean, for people who don't know Panasonic Toughbook, we're an engineering business rather than a sales business. We own a lot of technology ourselves. I think I've said it on one of our previous discussions, where we own globally more patents than any other business. And we take a lot of that technology and put it into our product. So you're getting a highly engineered product, but it means that it's slimmer, it's just as rugged, but we also help with the costs of that, because a lot of the facilities, the manufacturing process, are owned by Panasonic. So we're not reliant on a lot of other businesses that kind of inflate the cost. We spoke around versus consumer devices, and we've done this previously, and there's always a balance of how many of those consumer devices would you get to. They're not fit for purpose. There's a lot of other elements around that need to be controlled in terms of locking down the device, making sure you've got full everything you need, different applications. And because it's not, in the real world, is not a, consumer-led world. There's loads of drops, loads of tumbles. You need a full, really long battery that's not going to, fail or, be compromised over time. So for us, it's about finding that, that sweet spot for customers, and and just giving them that, the more sustainable rugged solution, because it's less product, that's, less refreshes. It's going to save them more time over time. So, we've been saying that for a while now, and we are seeing, an increase in business. It's heading in the right direction, because rugged sustainable is, it's a big thing at the moment. People don't want to keep refreshing devices with throwaway plastics. Yeah,
that's a good point, actually. How sustainable is the Toughbook itself in the latest model in terms of its energy use, etc.?
Yeah, so for instance, we manufacture our own battery as well. So it's Panasonic cells. So we do a lot of taking back the batteries, disposing of them accordingly. We also have a sustainable scheme where we plant trees for devices that we sell as well. We also take into account all the plastics, the shell. We keep the same form factor. We've had devices, one of our devices was released in 2016. We've kept the same form factor. There's not many businesses out there that release a device in 2016, keep the same form factor. But that device is going to keep going well into 2028. So it really paints a picture of how long, devices can be around for. And we're also having to make sure we've got long OS support in that, make sure it's got the latest chipset, so it's supported. So you can see how things have really changed. I still have conversations with customers about Android and the complications around it, concerns around security, the OS changing. They look at the consumer world, which we're on Android 12 at the minute. If you've got Android devices, you're more than likely on Android 12. Typically in the rugged world, you're behind then, but you're still getting security patches for, for years to come, and it's going to be upgradable as well. So devices can upgrade to the next 2, the next 3 OSs. So it paints that picture where you're not having to do so many refreshes. And I know we spoke previously about Toughbook as a service, device as a service, having it as an operational cost over a 3, 4, 5 year period, and combining it with the software as a service. There's a lot of different ways now that people are considering, having a rugged solution over more consumer. Even, I won't name anyone, I don't want to cause any problems or anything like that, but you look in the consumer world, there's kind of this, I'm going to use the word anyway, because I can't think of another one, but it's kind of bleeding into our, fully rugged area where customers say, well, this is a rugged device. And then you go in, why is it rugged? The battery's only like 6 hours. The drop is just a single drop rather than multiple drops, and it's dropped onto carpet. There's a lot of things to take into account, and it's only upgradable to Android 12, which, there's no kind of future path for it. So we have to take all that in mind to make sure that our customers are getting the best, the biggest ROI for, with their investment.
So just as a comparison there, because you mentioned some consumer devices, what could we reliably drop a Toughbook from? What sort of height, and how many times could we do that? Onto what sort of surfaces, and how long is the battery life as well? Because you might have said, but I didn't catch it. Yeah,
so it ranges on our products. So typically, the more the larger projects have a stronger battery, but you're talking minimum 12 hours on the standard battery. I believe the G2, now this is quoting me off the top of my head, so forgive me if you pick up a data sheet, but I believe it's in the 20s. So it's like a 20-hour battery life. I think it's like 20 and a half.
And how long's charging time, Mike? Sorry to interrupt you. How long's charging time?
No, so typically charging time. So some of our devices now, they're like USB-C. So it's like a faster, so the S1.
Yeah, hold on, let us see it. Yeah, you show it. Yeah.
Hang on, let me wipe it. Yeah. I want to make sure it's clean for the camera. Hopefully you get no reflection. But this is the S1. This is a 7-inch. So this is now, we're finding that the 7 inches is a bit of a sweet spot because, handheld. We said about handheld being convenient, putting in your pocket. People are used to smartphones. But believe it or not, depending on your size of your pockets, most of the time this will fit into your trouser pocket. I won't demonstrate here because my jeans are a little bit tight. They're not really of the real world. But if you're wearing more, combat trousers, cargo trousers, then this will still, fit into your pocket and it's lightweight. But it means that you still get visibility on your dashboard, but it gives you that bigger, the bigger visibility. Yeah. So it's a new product that was released the back end of last year. So, but yeah, it's taken us into new areas where it's almost like a crossover to, I don't want to use the word, but I'm going to use it like a phablet, like a phone, tablet, phablet.
Yeah. And of course, the user interface is intended, isn't it, to duplicate a smartphone, right? So that a new employee or a temporary employee would be able to use it very easily. Is that right? Or
yeah, that's exactly it, because everyone's using smartphones. In today's world, everyone's used to touch screens. You've got different ages, different genders, different cultures. In common, I'll say typically people would have a smartphone. They're used to that, that technology. You look at how many people globally are on Android. So in our world, and Google Android is our for the smaller form factor devices, it's the go-to. Typically for the larger form factor, so your more, your rugged laptops, your larger 2-in-1s, they're Windows, they're more for your desktop on the go, multi applications, heavy use, there's a purpose there. But for those applications where you're just using one application, it's web-based, typically you just need an Android device, so it's going to save on cost. We can offer that long-term support, and we can also take back the product as well and make sure that, you're getting a device that's as sustainable as possible.
And so what do you give us a sense of the range of tasks that your customers use a Toughbook for?
So it's, yeah, as you know, I mean, Paul, we've known each other. I think it's been about a year now. I've been at Toughbook, and traditionally Toughbook's been, you know, it's for devices that are, you know, bomb-proof outside the four walls, that in loads of different conditions, heavy rain, you know, bright sunlight, so the reflective, you know, the screen is 7 layers, that so you don't get the reflectiveness. But that's kind of been traditionally. Whether now, because our devices, it's still keeping that Toughbook you know, platform, the kind of the standard. We're making them lighter, thinner. And now we're getting people using them for, because they want like a device, so like a one device fits all. It's, you know, it's saving costs, but it's also giving more productivity. So you've got a device that you can use for, you know, membership scanning. So we've got security guards streaming CCTV from tablets, and they're able to use it as a, you know, to take where they've got a static monitor. They're now able to disregard that, have this on a shoulder strap and go round and see, you know, criminals in. Obviously it's quite a niche application and it's not really, you know, logistics here, but it's that we're getting our tablets being mounted all over. We've got a logistics company at the minute that use it for goods in, and they actually put the A3, which is the larger 10-inch, on a podium, so that when a vehicle drives through, it's like a monitor, but they're able to interact with it. But it's a device that used to be used for other areas of the business, which now they've mounted and reused.
Right.
So they're being used in all different, you know, all your traditional ones, like your proof of delivery, you know, your stock management, you know, moving assets around and tracking them. They still use those devices for that, but now they're using them for like membership, security, staff issue, comms, just replacing a smartphone, because you can put a SIM in it. They're trying to standardize and make it easier to support these devices.
Yeah, that's amazing array of sort of tricks and treats in there. Just tying into what Laurent was saying earlier, and we spoke about 5G and the difference that's going to make. How are your customers and users of Toughbook, how will they see a difference with 5G, if any?
Yeah, so it's interesting, because I think Laurent said that it might be maybe a year's time, I think, or you know, correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm trying to, we've as it stands at the minute, we've got one device, which is going to be, which is 5G. So it's got the antennas to support it in all, you know, it's got about, I think it's 4 antennas built in, so it can be 5G. We're thinking, for us, it's more, obviously better connectivity, more bandwidth, but in more like built up areas, it's going to be that, you know, kind of better coverage, no loss of signal, for more kind of mission critical applications. But I'm sure in time we're gonna start seeing, you know, the kind of it filter down and throughout our, you know, our smaller form factor devices, and then be used in logistics. But as it stands at the minute, 4G, you know, it works. It's, you know, it works at the moment, but we are investing in 5G. But as it stands at the minute, it's on the larger form factor Windows device, and it's more for those mission critical customers that are using it for, you know, heavy applications, and they categorically need that, you know, the better signal.
Okay, thanks, Mike. We'll let you take a break. Rogier, let me come to you. Can you, you know, FarEye is obviously this incredible piece of technology that brings visibility to the delivery journey. For the uninitiated, can you explain why it matters to have visibility, and what a difference that makes to both the consumer and to, for example, the retailer or the delivery supplier?
The consumer obviously is the most obvious and easiest maybe to explain, in terms of, if you have ordered anything from any type of retailer or manufacturer, you are interested in where your order is and when it will arrive on your doorstep. So what visibility means is basically making sure that you capture data throughout that shipment journey in order to provide that communication to the customer. That means that the customer knows what's going on, and ultimately that leads to more satisfied customers, right? So that's an easy one. It is the only way to delight your customers, right? Deliver upon promise and keep them informed about that you're doing that. And
Well,
then in order, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say that absolutely, you know, what I would understand, but the thing is about, it's not just it's delighting the customer, is it? Because it can bring huge benefits to the delivery supplier by having this information available as well, can't it?
Yeah.
And by giving
There's
the
other
customer,
stakeholders, yeah.
So just talk a bit about that as well.
Yeah. So ultimately, that was the easy part. On the internal, if you're a shipper, a retailer, or a manufacturer that needs to basically ship parcels and goods to customers, then one thing you want to make sure is that you do that according to or in an efficient way. And visibility helps basically to understand the utilization of the capacity that you have available to do all those deliveries and make proper decisions on how to increase that utilization. So in that sense, it helps to basically increase productivity when it comes to the delivery organization, or the supply chain can just be more effective when there's proper visibility, and that visibility is used in terms of optimizing the delivery network in that sense, right? So and obviously the other side of things would be that in having the visibility internally, the customer, it works on both ways, right? So information going to the customer leads to a customer asking less questions in terms of where's my order?
Yep.
Or why is it delayed, or whatever, right? And on the other hand, if they do still, then we at least have the data internally as well, to be able to actually provide answers on those questions. And whether you do that through a call center or you put it on a portal or whatever, that's irrelevant in this case, I would say. You see that more and more technology obviously supports these kinds of processes, but it starts with having that data and having it as real time as possible, and making sure that you gather it at one single point so that you can make sense out of the data. And then you can basically push it to customers, make sure that you internally have one single pane of glass that tells you the truth, and serves as a more or less internal control tower. So that's how basically both customer and internal stakeholders are served by visibility, right?
Right. So let me give you a chance to talk about your own Get FarEye, your own application. Tell us why it's better than the competition out there, because this is a growing area, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, why it's growing is that everybody recognizes that there's a need to constantly understand where shipments and parcels are, right? So from both the customer perspective and from shippers, retailers, 3PLs that are actually doing the courier services. So that means that there's a lot to be done in that space. In short, what FarEye does is we deliver an intelligent delivery management platform, but if you break it down, it covers 3 functional areas. So one of them would be, or the first would be orchestration, delivery orchestration, which means that if I'm a retailer, I may have a network of carriers doing the deliveries for me, or I have an own fleet, or a mix of those. In that case, the orchestration means using business rules to assign what orders go to what carriers. And if I have own routes, I may actually even want to do route planning and optimization. And that is covered in the orchestration piece, right? So then we basically set ourselves up for success in terms of planning, orchestrating the deliveries as cleverly as we can. Then the second piece of the solution is what we really call the visibility aspect. So that's basically gathering all the data from the supply chain. So warehouse status messages, customer EPODs that feed into it, and all the status messages that we can get out of the carriers along the way. to basically give that single pane of glass that tells you the truth on what's going on, the control tower function. Then that same data can be used to communicate to customers, and that's basically the third piece that automatically feeds into the third piece of the delivery management platform of FarEye, and that's the delivery experience side of things. So that's where we actually use our machine learning, artificial intelligence technologies to predict ETAs, and to be able to communicate that to customers, to allow customers to maybe reschedule deliveries, which obviously makes for a bit of complexity, but ultimately increases that customer service. But it automatically creates a challenge internally of reorganizing that delivery to a PUDO instead of to the home delivery address or whatever. And you need to communicate to the customer about it. We delivered it to that PUDO, right? And come and pick it up. So that communication with the customer based on what's going on with their shipments is something that we do in that third piece, and that's that customer experience piece. And that is two-way communication. It's about basically continuously communicating about the promises you've made about when you're going to deliver. Yeah. Are we going to still make that, or is there a deviation somewhere? And also allowing the customers to basically come back to you and say, well, I've ordered something, but I forgot about it. I had to go to the hairdresser or whatever, right? I'm not at home, so please deliver it to a PUDO so they can reschedule that delivery. And it's as that communication is in real time, it can be really used to reorganize those deliveries and manage those sort of exceptions, right?
Yeah, but there's benefits also for the delivery supplier, isn't there? Because they can. You talked about the artificial intelligence and the replotting of routes with the real-time visibility that can save fuel miles, for example.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that would definitely be a way of making sure that you, like I said, maximize utilization, which helps to reduce the number of trucks needed. Right, that's the first way of reducing carbon emissions and fuel usage and all that. And obviously by optimizing routes that's another factor where you actually aim to reduce the miles needed to do the deliveries or the pickups or a combination. Yeah.
And Rogier, how many customers how many systems have you got in operation around the world now with this product?
We've got over 150 big customers around the world. So we have customers in the Asia Pacific region, in North America, Europe, so all the major regions. So that's what we're talking about. Yeah, we do over 10 million parcels a day through our platform.
Wow. Take a moment to think about that.
That's the scale of, but we're growing rapidly, so these numbers are outdated as soon as I mention them.
Yeah.
These things
go.
Yeah,
sure.
And you asked about what is unique about, because ultimately this is what makes FarEye if you break it down on a functional level, then this is how you would look at FarEye. If you look at what makes us unique, I think what I described there is not only for last mile, it covers mid-mile, first mile just as well. Right, so we can really provide an end-to-end visibility across a very complicated supply chain. Another one would be, and that's increasingly important for our customers, and I think in general, is the flexibility and agility that we can provide with the platform, and that has to do with it being based on a no-code, low-code approach, where we have integrated a business process management module, if you like, into the platform. And that allows for very quick design and redesign of business processes within the application in order to be able to support them very quickly. So typically when you do business with an IT vendor and you introduce a new service or a new process, that requires that vendor to build a piece of functionality to support that. So that's custom development. And basically through that BPM engine, we take away that need for that custom development, because basically the platform will allow you to design that process within the platform without any need for coding or building functionality or applications, right?
Yeah.
So that's an important USP of our platform.
Okay, fantastic. Let me not be more negative, but you've got to look at all parts of a business. What are the challenges each of your businesses face in terms of being successful, and in terms of getting more customers? What are the obstacles you have to face? Let me start with you, Laurent, on that.
Well, the market of machine-to-machine connectivity in the IoT world is expanding rapidly, and more use cases are being discovered and developed every day. If you think of one exotic use case, be assured that there are many more exotic use cases in development already now. So we discover every day very specific devices and use cases. One hurdle, which is a hurdle for us as a supplier, but also I would say a hurdle as for the customers, is that many of the customers are not aware that there is a professional value proposition available for machine-to-machine connectivity. Sometimes in startup mode, these developers go to the next available phone shop around the corner and buy a SIM card and seem to have done a great job. But at the end of the day, if you multiply your SIM cards from 1 to 10 to 100 to 10,000 to 100,000, you need to have a professional service that allows you to manage your SIM cards, because your SIM cards will have different behaviors, they will have different uses, and if you don't have a professional platform to manage your SIM cards, you may well run into cost problems. So there is an intelligence layer with which we manage at Post Luxembourg SIM fleets, and we extend this possibility obviously to all our customers, which is a platform that monitors and measures the uses of the various individual SIMs within the family, and optimizes by artificial intelligence and by bots the pricing schemes that are available. So the tool will actually choose always the right rate plan for the individual SIM, depending on their behavior. And in addition to that, this rate plan can be retroactively adjusted. So if you see that the one device is consuming more than initially planned, in order to avoid running into overage costs, which is really expensive, the bot will automatically change the rate plan to the next available volume, thus reducing the cost. So in essence, what I'm saying is that the hurdle is that you have to think about big numbers, and you have to think about the magnitude of your potential business, and identify the right service provider that allows you to scale your business while still being able to handle and to master all the complexity of the costs and of the unexpected.
Sure. Okay, thank you for that, Mike. Challenges, obstacles to that Toughbook has to think about.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, one of them you said earlier, Paul, around like consumer devices and how we have customers.
But convincing customers that they need to go the extra mile and pay the extra investment on the rugged.
Yeah, that's it. It's basically why do they need to have that bigger investment to give that greater ROI, and that's part of our challenge. It's some of our devices have got less than a 1% failure rate, and it's understanding having customers understand the positive impact that will have on their business. And the rewards it gives in terms of all the the less downtime, the inconvenience of trying to raise RMAs. It's just if you just add it all up, it's a big cost. And some of there's a lot more manufacturers out there now offering rugged solutions. There's a difference. We look at ourselves as the original rugged, and we go beyond the standard tests. And particularly in the last 2 years with COVID and disinfectant devices, it's like ours, have really withstood that excessive, intensive cleaning. Whether we've had a lot of customers where the failure rates have just, it's really been affected. So for us, it's the challenges of, why invest in Toughbook, supporting the device for as long as possible, and getting the message across about, having a more reliable device. There's hidden costs and inconvenience that you may not be aware of, and as soon as you start to calculate them, it all goes towards the ROI.
Yeah.
So
yeah, some great thoughts there. And Rogier, for you at FarEye, challenges?
Yes and no. The first thing, obviously, we help companies with so obvious KPI improvements, like OTIF percentages, right? On time and in full deliveries, increase in their the productivity of the force that actually does the deliveries. So you could actually argue, no, there shouldn't be any challenges, right? Because the business case is there, which is absolutely true. And that's why we're growing rapidly as well. The thing that I would point out as a challenge there is much around, there are still companies out there that see a lot of the topics that I would see as an integrated topic as separate challenges that they address separately as well, where ultimately such companies would definitely benefit from seeing the entire delivery chain from a customer perspective as one whole, and solve the challenges through one solution. They could go for, well, we have like a solution for the, I don't know, the scheduling of the deliveries. Then we have another solution that provides us with the internal visibility, and we have like, and that brings a lot of challenges, first of all, to connect all those technologies to each other, which ultimately increases total cost of ownership, but it also limits the opportunity to actually really provide that seamless experience to customers. So I would mention that as a challenge, right? The customer organizations that we could serve, some of them at least still would think about their challenges as two separate challenges where they connect really big time, and that has moved along over years. So a couple of years ago, you would run into retailers that wouldn't see the need for scheduling of deliveries. They can't really stick with that currently, obviously. So they are moving in the right direction, but still then you see, well, let's do a scheduling project. Let's do a route planning project. And those are not separate challenges that you're solving there or trying to solve there. I would mention that as a challenge for us to basically make them aware and understand of the importance of seeing that as an integrated process. And so also running projects on that scale benefits them massively, but that's a challenge for us to actually make them understand that.
Yeah, well, thank you for your honesty on that. I think, to be honest, we're out of time. There's some great insight here. Let me ask you all just briefly to finish off with one question then. Advice for customers. If a potential customer is embarking on this journey of using your product or your service or your solution, what advice would you give them in terms of what they should be thinking about? Let's start with you, Mike.
Okay, so for me, it's all about testing. It's like testing and test again. The proof is in the pudding. It's really, consider the device, the use case, your particular operations, and any other areas where the device can be used for. Because historically, it's not necessarily the one device fits all approach works, but now our devices are more flexible, loads of gadget ports. We're trying to keep the same platform. It's to make it more sustainable. We're not in a world now where you can just, oh, well, that device was fit for purpose for 2 years, we'll get rid of that. we'll get another one. It's for now, it's thinking about the bigger picture and testing the product, and just, don't there's so many different manufacturers out there, and there's so much confusing information around what's rugged. So just ask the question. That's all I'd say.
Fantastic. Laurent, you did go into this area a bit, and you did talk about what customers should think about. So I may be asking you to duplicate a bit, but do you have one piece of advice for customers?
Yeah, I think I have two pieces of advice. The first one is it is helpful to well frame your use case. Your devices that you're using are emitting a certain volume of data. You have to measure the data to be able to pinpoint the right rate plan that you would like to use. Also, questions about technology, whether your device is mobile or really mobile or internationally mobile, and how is the criticality of the transmission? Is it mission critical? Is it not mission critical? So this is one whole subject. And the second part is, and there I have to repeat myself, is think big. Okay, it's not about one device. It's not about 10 devices. It's about 10,000 devices, 100,000 devices, 500,000 devices, and think and exchange with any potential service provider on what tools you can be extended to manage these huge volumes that are potentially coming your way.
Okay, thank you for that, Laurent. And Rogier?
I started in this direction already on the last question you raised as well, right? So, but so the thing I mentioned there was see it as a whole. There's like an order fulfillment process that comes with orchestration, planning, visibility, customer communication, and integrating that as one solution does provide big benefits. So there's one consideration for potential customers. The other one would be, that sounds like a big project. So if you have that vision of ultimately wanting to land there as an integrated supply chain, we want to be able to have visibility across all the legs and modes and carriers. At least use it as a dot on the horizon, but start. Even if you now have small steps to take, just on scheduling, just on visibility, whatever it may be, but start and make sure that you get moving, because ultimately customers are getting more vocal and expect more. Yeah. So you're gonna have to. So that's
longest journey begins with a single step, does it not?
Exactly.
So that's a great place to finish. So thank you very much. I hope you, our audience, agree that there was some great advice and insight from our brilliant panelists there, Laurent, Mike, and Rogier. So thank you, guys. The only other thing to say is, sadly, this is the last of our 10 panels. So as I say, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching this and the previous ones. If you wish to catch up with any of them, they're all available on the website and can be watched on repeat in the future. So you should be able to find any. If you have any problems, get in touch with us at Logistics Business and we'll get you online to see them. But on that note, thanks very much, everyone, and we'll see you next time.